All right. So let's just start with the first question. What is the vision of the science curriculum at Renew, and what were you looking to accomplish by creating the vision?
So our actual mission statement is the mission of Renew Science to develop lifelong problem-solving skills that prepare students for success in a competitive and dynamic society. And I think what we were looking forward in accomplishing this was the stated mission that was past actually preparing for the end of year state test, and how can we set up our students for success in the next grade level, in high school, in the world beyond that, and develop those skill sets. If you want to add?
Yeah, and so in order to make this mission a reality, Katie and I created 3 big rocks that we then presented to our cohort members at the beginning of the summer to expand upon and define what those will look like in action. So those big rocks are that students will regularly do science. Students will think critically about complex problems and develop a skill set that prepares them for success, as she said, in high school, college, career, beyond where they are at. And students applying strong literacy skills to learning and communicating about science.
Nice. I totally agree. I thought it was really interesting that you brought up problem solving because that's something I find in science, especially with a STEM-based education, is really super critical. What does problem solving look like then on sort of a more unit or more of a day-to-day basis? What are you looking to see where students are building those problem solving skills?
I think that comes down to the actual instructional tasks. Ultimately every unit has a performance task, so they're solving some type of problem there. But it's when you come to problem solving, any type of challenge or when you have an experiment that doesn't go the way it's supposed to go, that students just are not shutting down.
Yeah.
Even if the challenge is sort the vocabulary words or something like that, or what do you think about this, a big question, that you're building those skills of perseverance.
Yeah.
So when they can apply it to bigger projects. I think we're looking for students that, again, can apply that skill set to a problem and overcome any challenges that might arise.
Gotcha. So adding perseverance or even more of a resilience, building that when they're faced with a problem or just a scenario that they don't know.
Exactly. How do you build the tallest tower given a limited supply of materials?
Yeah.
Just so they're this is hard and don't shut down.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
Also through the 5E structure that we work with our teachers to be using on a daily basis in the engage, explore parts of those lessons, that explore is a problem in itself where you want kids to pull out that information on their own before the teacher then tells it to them and summarizes it and we explain.
Yep.
So, I mean, even with our brand new teachers that are struggling with bringing in problem solving skills, that's where I start first, is
Exactly.
How can we develop a small little challenge in the start of class that's going to get kids thinking before you tell them.
Nice. So the next one is Renew defines itself as reinventing education, and then how does the science curriculum fit in to Renew's vision for itself?
So in terms of reinventing education, I think it's, we're moving past, again, just preparing for the state test. And I think the 2 big things that we did to do that is including performance tasks. And so these are planned opportunities for students to apply all the knowledge and skills from a unit into solving a 2-day problem or lab or some type of activity task where they actually do science and apply those literacy and problem solving skills. The next big thing is the science fair. And so that is a year-long project that is planned for teachers and students to execute and then eventually present their experiment and their findings to community members and actually defend their results and again doing science. And I think that takes away from those instructional days where it would just be are we focused on the end of year test? So we want them to move past that and have those real world experiences.
Truth. Renew has tried to incorporate more student choice. I know we talked about before of choice is freedom. And how does the science curriculum lend itself to incorporating more student choice, or does it? And if so, how does it do that?
Well, I think based on just the 2 things that Katie just mentioned, the performance tasks and science fair in general, have a lot of like avenues where kids can choose how they execute and solve those problems. So in terms of science fair, I mean, in your room, in Alex Wasko's room last year, I mean, kids were picking their own topics from things that interested them and they were wondering about. I mean, that's not happening at every charter school in this city. And so that's like something I'm really proud about, like that even last year, before this mission came out, that there was a lot of student choice in our curriculum, which is really cool.
I think also too, there's like flexibility for teacher choice,
Yeah.
and that can ultimately lead itself to student choice. So when you go to a new school, you're not going to see the exact same lesson in every class. So you can actually design your instructional day to meet the needs of your students and embed choices because you're not giving a scripted curriculum.
Gotcha. So I know we talked about choice, and I know we talked about like exploring activities and problem solving. What are your key levers to help staff, like science teachers on the day-to-day, achieve the vision of this curriculum? Like, what are things that like you really want to focus on that help staff do this or achieve your vision?
I think one of the biggest things is that we spend a lot of professional development time working with the 5E lesson plan and helping teachers to be able to apply that structure to their classrooms.
We also have we have a wide range of teaching abilities every year at Renew, from first year all the way up to 5, 6 year science teachers. And so coaching has been a key lever to being able to meet our teachers where they're at and cater a specific plan to push them forward. So right now I'm working with both experienced and brand new teachers, and so there's a lot of different things that I see as key levers for them based on where they're at. For instance, a key lever that I am now thinking of moving into next year for our brand new teachers is actually more of a scripted curriculum, not like a word for word scripted curriculum, but like an outline of a lesson that they can then have internalization meetings with me to prep rather than starting from scratch. It's something that I'm seeing great improvement with the teachers that I create an outline for them ahead of time, and then we work together to build it out in how their classrooms are performing. Whereas a higher teacher who's more experienced like you, I wouldn't need to do that with you, and instead we can push more of these problem-solving skills and prior order thinking. So Renew putting an emphasis on coaching, especially the fact that we have coaching in science, is really huge.
Yeah, and I think looking back when I was a first year teacher teaching social studies, and to see how the curriculum is developed, as you said, the curriculum now is becoming so much more and more detailed and just so chock full of resources that can be a real help. I remember when I was trying to figure it out my first year of teaching, I wasn't good at it because I honestly didn't know what I should be teaching or how to teach something. So I thought, I think that's really good input there. And then the last one, so I'm reading this book about principals and education leaders as curriculum instruction, and he talks about curriculums at small schools, how you have your district and you have your district curriculum, and that's seen as the floor, right? So your curriculum that you're given by the state, or these are the standards, this is your floor. And then the small schools try to build it up to create their own ceiling. So they take their curriculum and they expand on some things and don't touch others to try and sort of build their own curriculum. And how do you sort of expect the small schools like 5A RCAA or SciTech or Schaumburg to expand upon or change the curriculum?
I think it's really based on your class needs. And I think that's where you have the flexibility to take the objectives and find instructional resources that you can then make more rigorous for your students, that you want to push the problem solving or the higher order thinking. Or I just met with a teacher who is struggling because she's students in her 3rd grade class that are on a kindergarten level. So then it's the ability to then find resources or create resources from that objective that meets those students' needs, so they still feel successful in science. And so I think it's just giving you the freedom to adapt the curriculum to your specific classes and your students' levels.
And small school principals can have priorities that they are pushing like across the board. Every subject, every teacher is working on this. Like for instance at DTA right now, everyone is working on their I&M or their explains being very ask, don't tell oriented. And so I'm working with all the science teachers. So we have our curriculum that we've written, but I'm working with her science teachers to help push the school-wide agenda as well, so that they fit together and advance student achievement. So.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point of how you need to meet like the principal's priorities as well, because each school has things that they're working on. I know ours is to instead of having like snippets where each lesson is sort of a snippet of a standard, trying to incorporate in your lesson like how does it embody like the depth of the standard, or like are you including activities or questions that really sort of get students to understand like the main points of the standard and not just individual facts. So like they're pushing us to do those things, and I'm incorporating those into like my lessons next tickets and things as well. So yeah, I think that's really a really good point in terms of like giving the teachers the individual freedom, and then also the principals as well the ability to like build their own curriculum, even though it might not be like fact-based, at least sort of like thinking or activity-based.
And hopefully next year, our standards will allow everyone to go deeper, because some of them right now are pretty shallow. So.
Cool. All right, well thank you guys, I appreciate it.